Right.
I could just burst all these Shiksa's bubbles. I mean, I could just show, like you said, you could show us with no
Right.
money, whatever. But I mean, I can show so many cases where there's so much divorce now, and
You could put your pinprick right in that bubble.
and pop it. Yeah, I could wipe that out.
Uh,
But that is true, though, that there are some Shiksas who specifically
and often
want Jewish guys.
they expect a lot less than Jewish women. And
Oh my God,
They're
yeah.
willing to put out with a lot more.
Jewish
just
women have like this gigantic checklist
Yeah.
of here's my needs, and you don't
Right.
fulfill them, and you don't fulfill them, and you don't fulfill them, and you're out.
Right, and you can like get away a lot more with the non-Jewish woman because you can tell her, oh, this is just the tradition of our people. Whatever it is, you can say,
Right.
this is the tradition of my people. You can't give me a hard time about this. We died in the Holocaust to keep this tradition alive. And whatever it is, watching Monday Night Football or whatever it is you want to do, and how does she know? She doesn't know. Or you say, I can't work today, it's Goldamir's birthday. or it's a tradition about people that women do all the housework, or so I interjected with this, and it's funny, this like secular or reform, I think she was reform or Jewish woman, I'd say mid-30s, said, I'm really surprised to hear you say that, because the Orthodox view of marriage is the opposite of the secular view. In the secular view, you just try to get as much as you can from your partner, but in the Orthodox view of marriage, you try to give as much as you can to your partner.
Oh, I saw that on your blog.
So is that true? Is that the Orthodox view of marriage? You try to give as much as you can to your partner? Not counting socially transmitted diseases. I told her, like, you heard some idealized, portrayal of Orthodox Judaism.
I think it's a give and take.
Yeah.
I think it's a give and take. I don't think either one of those is a correct statement.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a give and take.
What would you say are the keys for all the women in the audience? And I get this question a lot. They say, Levi, like, what are the essential keys to husband pleasing? What would you tell the women out there?
I have
who
no
wanna
idea.
please their
I have never
husbands?
been married. Why are you asking me this question? What do you ask? Ask me something I know. I know football.
So the police came to the party. And
police came?
Yeah, I guess there were a lot of complaints. But
Yeah.
there was no music, it was just Jews talking.
Well, you just said there was 70, and I'm already
Yeah.
thinking how many people can fit in a house in this neighborhood.
Yeah, and not all of them were spelled because it was Jews.
They must have been like out in the back in the guest house where they keep the illegal aliens and stuff like that.
Well, we were kind of on the balcony.
Okay.
And so we had to all go inside and shut the door, and it was quite hot, so it was really hot in there. But there were women in there who I was interested in, so I hung out till 1:30. So despite my
I'm surprised
social
you even
anxiety,
left.
despite the heat,
If there was women, you would probably,
I was like talking to women about dating and marriage and all sorts of blogging and Torah, and so I had like genuine conversations with like half a dozen different women. There was one beautiful woman there who wouldn't be my Facebook friend, so we didn't really talk. We have like 30 Facebook friends in common, and I said, hey, we should be Facebook friends because we have so many friends in common. She didn't respond. So I saw her there. She's like been going out for 4 months with a friend of mine. So he asked me if I knew her. Yeah, what is it with women? You have like 30, 40 friends in common on Facebook, and they still stiff you. Do you have that problem?
well, here's the thing. I have a policy. I don't ask people to be Facebook's friends with me.
Really? So how many friends do you have?
I don't know.
So all of those, you didn't ask anyone to be friends with you,
Well,
basically.
I would say 90% of them, I don't even know. I didn't know who these people were, and they sent me. And the only ones I send out to are people I've actually already knew.
Right.
Like I'm friends with somebody, and then
I guess I was a little needy and desperate. And you know who you are. So did you have any thoughts from last week? Was there anything that you
What did we talk about
wasn't
last
addressed? Talked about Bereshit, creation.
week?
No, obviously got nothing burning from last week's show. So, you got some notes? You got some hypocrites in your crosshairs?
No, there was just a couple things that I saw this week that. Oh, this is the wrong glasses.
So, folks, you're listening to Torah Talk with Rabbi Raz.
I saw something on your website right before I came over. I didn't know, that stuff about the Shiksa and Lilith.
Yeah.
You know that I thought maybe you'd bring it up so that I could correct you on.
Okay, correct me. Who's Lilith?
There is no Lilith.
Well, there's a Wikipedia entry.
What did my book say? It says don't look at Wikipedia. Okay.
Well, there's a hot painting of.
Okay, let me just get this out there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Lilith is a myth, but it's not a Torah thing. If you want to, you might as well quote. It's like at that point you can just bring up anything you want.
Dennis Prager.
Anything, because it's not. It's got nothing to do with Judaism.
Okay.
There was no such thing as there's no woman. The only time that name comes up is in Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
It's got nothing to do with Adam. Some people say, "Oh, it was one of Adam's wives." No, that's not true. He never had a. He never. That's completely, patently false. He never had a wife by such a name. He had Chava. He had Eve. That's it. It's brought down in the Talmud that Lilith is it's an evil impulse. It's like a Yetzer Hora.
I've got this.
It's an evil inclination. It's just another name for a type of any evil inclination that compels a person to want certain things. Okay, and it may drive you to want a shiksa. But the stories about how it's a woman and she had daughters or whatever is on your website, that I don't know what religion, but it's not Judaism. We have nothing to do with that. That's pure myth.
Okay, did you?
It's not a woman. It's not a female woman at all.
Huh.
It's no different than if someone said, "Well, God's a man and he has a long white beard," or something. I mean, it's just silly, stupid. It has nothing to do with Judaism.
I remember when I was writing on the porn industry, they made several movies about Lilith.
Yeah, they can. It's got nothing to do with Judaism. As long as it's understood that this is not what Judaism talks about.
So do you have some hypocrites in your
Yeah,
crosshairs?
just some things I'm noticing. And we talked about a little bit about these kind of things before. So there's, we talked about before how Islam, right? Like the liberals in this country are defending it. Like as we move down the line, and I spoke about that at length before.
Right.
And I just find it really interesting and hypocritical that now we're about a month away from these elections, right?
Right.
So they're starting all their, the liberals are starting all their dirty tactics, and they're attacking all the conservative candidates in different ways personally.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one candidate, and she's running. I don't know her from Adams, or I don't follow this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she apparently said that she
Christina Dono dabbled in witchcraft?
She dabbled in witchcraft, and they're like, "Oh, she dabbled in witchcraft, she's a nutcase," right?
Right.
And I'm thinking, how the fuck can these people criticize her for that with a straight face after they just sat there and said, "Oh, don't burn the Korans. Oh, don't get upset about the Islamic mosque on World Trade Center." And I'm like, you're not the same people. You didn't just do that, right? How can they on one hand, sit there and defend Islam and then criticize somebody for practicing some pagan witchcraft or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, neither one of them are religions that I subscribe to, right? Mm-hmm. But how does that make her? Jesus, if you have a problem with her in witchcraft, why don't you have a problem with our president who dabbled with Islam? He went to an Islamic school, right? How is what she did bad and what he did is okay? If it's okay for our president to dabble with Islam, how much more so it's okay for whatever she's running for, a senator, to dabble with witchcraft? That's not something she should be ashamed of. If it's politically correct for our president in the United States to dabble with Islam, in the same, they